Here is the review of the Transformers Legacy IDW Blurr, who is a repaint and heavily modified version of the Transformers Studio Series 86 Blurr. Now, I don't have the Studio Series 86 Blurr, so I'm gonna try and see how much they've modified this figure from the Studio Series 86 Blurr. But taking a closer look at him in vehicle mode, you can see he does turn into this nice Cybertronian like race car mode thing. And the parts that I can see that have been modified from the Studio Series 86 Blurr is, of course, the entire front part here. Like this part here and these things which have these wheels here. But these wheels here, as you could see, they're not functional. So he doesn't roll. And on the bottom, there's no like little plastic wheels on the bottom of him to help him roll. So all he does is just slide. Or he does like hover if you want to display him like he's hovering in the air. But I think in the comics he does roll on these wheels here. I think he does. I'm guessing he does. But moving on, and the parts that I can see that have not been changed and still kept the same from the original Studio Series Blurr is on the back here. Because the back here, as you can see, is the G1 Blurr, or the Studio Series Blurr. And the cockpit here is, of course, modified, and you can see it does have the translucent blue cockpit here with the Autobot symbol inside. And here's the side view here. The back part, and you can see he does have these little thrusters on the back here. And the other side. And of course the front here. And all around, pretty cool looking Cybertronian race car mode. But my only problem with it is that he doesn't roll in his vehicle mode, because I wish that they would put some like little plastic wheels on the bottom to help him roll, or maybe make these wheels here functional so that they can roll. But that's just my opinion. And he does come with 2 weapons that you can store in the vehicle mode here. The first one that he comes with is this gun here, which, as you can see here, is just all done in blue plastic. And he also does come with this like little fixing tool thing, like a welder thing. And to store these in his vehicle mode, for the gun has these 2 holes on either side here, and it goes on this little tab on the bottom, so you can either plug it in like this, or you can plug it in like this. Either way. And then you would, well, first I will have to adjust the camera up. Then you would take this piece here, and these 2 tabs are going to go into these holes here, and you want this facing like this. So it looks like this here. So you can have it like this. about it for his vehicle mode. So now let's get into the transformation. So first I will have to remove his weapons off of him. So to start off the transformation, you want to take these side pieces here, untap them from these lighter blue tabs here, and you also want to slide these up from these gray tabs to these little slots here and bring them forward so they look like this. And these back parts do also tap into these blue tabs and into these holes here with the letter L-shaped tab here, or hole. And then you do the same thing on the other side here. And you want to bring these out to about here, because you do need to take these things here. Well, but before you do some with these things, you do want to come to the bottom here and take these blue things here, untap them from these things so you can flip these up, and these holes is where, as you can see here, these lighter blue tabs here go into. So once these are untapped, you now want to flip these up, and these are going to tap into these tabs and these holes here. Now you want to come to the bottom here and untab these things here and open them up. Well, you do need to make sure that these things are out of the way. Well, while we're on these here, you do also want to take these and bring these up, and they will tap into place. And then you can bring these out. So they look like this, and his arms would look like this. And yes, these are going to form his arms in robot mode. Now you want to take the back part here and bring it all the way back. And you also want to separate these two things apart. And these will form his legs. And you could see these two tabs is where these two holes go into. And once you got these separated, You can now take this little fin piece and flip it all the way in. And then you're going to take these and close these up until they tap into place. And then you want to flip down what will become his feet. And there we have the legs all done. Then you're going to take his arms, rotate them down. And for these things, you're going to rotate these around, and then you're going to take these and bring these all the way back, which will reveal his hands. And also, as you bring these back, these things here do pop up. And these will also tap into place. And these don't hold in really super securely that well. I wish they would, but they don't. And then you do the same on the other side. Then you want to take this piece here and yeah, you do want to take this piece, bring it all the way back, and it'll reveal his head. And then you just collapse it in. And finally, you just want to take this little cockpit piece and rotate it around. And you're done. So now let me scooch the camera back some. And he looks really cool and really accurate to how he looks in the IDW comics. But my only problem with him is, like you saw in the transformation, these things that you saw, I wish that they would do something else with these things on the bottom of his arms here. Because he does have some kibble hanging around on his arms here. That's really my only problem with him in robot mode. Is just these things here, which I wish that they would do something else with these instead of just letting them hang out on the bottom of his arms here. But the rest of his robot mode does look really cool. And I do like all of the modifications that they did to this guy from the Studio Series 86 Blurr. And like I told y'all from the beginning of the video, I don't have the original Studio Series 86 Blurr. So you're not going to see any comparisons with this and the Studio Series Blurr. But what I can show you, the coolest modification that he has is he does have a brand new head here. And I'm going to try and get the lighting here. And that definitely does look like Blurr from the comics. And he does have some like metallic blue paint on his eyes here. And his shoulders do look really cool. And I think the legs are the original Studio Series Blurr's legs. I think that they are. Or they may have done a little bit of modifications for his legs on this version. I couldn't tell you because I don't have the Studio Series 86 Blurr. And here's the side view here. The back view here. And the other side here. And all around, really cool in robot mode. But my only problem with him in robot mode is these things which just hang out on his arms here. Which I wish that they would do something else with these things. But the rest of him does look really cool. And for articulation, head is on a ball joint. but he does have a little bit of wiggly waggly movement here. It is on a ball joint. He just has a little bit of like some wiggly waggly movement. Arms can rotate on a soft ratchet. They can move in and out. He does have an elbow joint, a bicep swivel, and his hands do have a swivel joint, which you can see here. But if you want to move his hands, you will have to untap these things and bring them down to move his wrists. Waist swivel. Legs can go forward, back, in and out. Thigh swivel. Knee. And his feet do have an ankle pivot. And that's it. And he can hold his gun here. And to have him hold this like tool thing on the inside, you do have this little peg that will go into either one of his hands here. So you can have it like that. And there you go. And for a size comparison, here he is next to the old SXS overclocking here. So you can see them side by side. And yes, I definitely prefer the legacy version of IDW Blurr, because this looks like IDW Blurr. This is exactly how he looks like in the comics. This version of Blurr, now, this does look like an amazing Blurr figure. But this is a figure for its time and its age. Even though this does look like a really cool looking Blurr, this does not look like IDW Blurr. This is like a more modernized style of SXS's take on Blurr, with a little bit of mixture of his IDW and also his G1 self. Especially the head sculpt here, if I can zoom in here. Now, the head sculpt here all around is definitely the G1 Blurr head, with a little bit of his IDW self mixed in which are these side fin pieces here. So this is still a cool looking Blurr figure, but this is definitely not IDW Blurr. This is just a modernized style take on Blurr that SXS decided to go with. But this is definitely IDW Blurr. Because this is how he looks like in the comics. And to make him even more IDW accurate, I do have something for him. And I do got this little tray with some glass drinks. And this is the one that came with the Make Toys Trash Talk, their take on Swerve from the IDW comics. And I did tested this out, and he doesn't, well, he can kind of hold the little glass drinks here, but he doesn't really hold them that well, because he has like a looser grip. And for this little pitcher here, yeah, he doesn't really hold it. Neither is the tray. Yeah, he doesn't really hold them that well. And I'm gonna go ahead and get Swerve here. Yeah, there we go. And I'll go ahead and get the little, oh. Well, I'll go ahead and let Swerve hold it. There we go. And in the comics, just like what Swerve did, Blurr also started his own bar, serving drinks with some other characters in the IDW comics. And I think I did set that in my Make Toys Swerve video. So, I think that is about it for Transformers Legacy IDW Blurr. So, final thoughts. His vehicle mode does look great, but my only problem with him in vehicle mode is that I wish that he had some little tiny plastic wheels on the bottom to help him roll really well. Or I wish that these wheels here would be functional so he could roll really well. But they didn't do that. And the robot mode does look really cool as well. But, of course, my only problem with him is I wish that they would do something else with these things hanging out on his arms here. Like, I wish that they would like put them somewhere on his back or tuck them in somewhere so that they're not just hanging out on the bottom of his arms. But everything else about Legacy IDW Blurr looks really cool. And I do like all of the modifications that they did on this figure from the Studio Series 86 Blurr, which I don't have. So I think that's about it. So there you have it. Transformers Legacy IDW Blurr. And if you like this video, give me a like, comment, and subscribe for more. And if you want to check out some other videos you may have missed, there's a playlist set up on my YouTube channel. And you could also follow me or support me on Patreon. And I will leave a link to my Patreon account in the description box down below. Or you could also click on the little Patreon box right here in this corner here, which will also lead you to my Patreon account. So I think that's about it. So thanks for watching.